Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So, hi folks, Rich Howman here, developer advocate, SAP Devs. So thanks for joining us for this developer discussion today. Today we're going to focus our attention on the topic of RAP, what's in it for you. And for those that aren't familiar with RAP, RAP stands for ABAP RESTful Application Programming Model. So today we're joined by two guests, Marcel Hermanns and Fischer. Good morning, gentlemen. Let's start off by having you introduce yourself. Marcel, go first.
Yes, hi folks. Marcel Hermanns is my name. I'm part of the ABAP platform team. And yeah, I'm started SAP 2008, and I'm always working on the topic programming model, closely cooperating with application teams. And yeah, some years back, we started thinking about RAP, and now I'm the product lead of this topic and also representing RAP some conferences. You maybe watch some ticket videos or something like that. And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, my name is Fischer. I'm working on SAP topics in 1995 as a consultant then. Then I joined SAP in 2004, and since 2011, I'm product manager for SAP Gateway. And now I'm working on the topic of ABAP RESTful Programming Model, ABAP environment in SAP Cloud.
All right, great. So for the listeners, so as you can see, we have the right people in the panel today. So if you have any questions about RAP, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to address them as they come in. So let's get started, guys. Let's jump right into it. So why was RAP introduced, and why should I use it? Is it used in S/4HANA?
So yeah, why was it introduced? I mean, we had a preliminary version of the ABAP programming model before that. So maybe most of you guys know that with CDS, BOPF, Gateway. We had a very hard time some years ago to integrate them because the different technologies were not originally designed to be combined in order to create, for example, Fiori applications. So we tried to do our best to combine them. But of course, we were not able to reinvent the wheel in this time. And yeah, sometime later, we had the option to think about this approach and to rethink, would this also be the thing we want to show in I don't know, like 5 or 10 years? And together with different experts, we decided, or we evaluated that, and the answer is basically no. We need to improve several things. We need to heavily improve the TCD. We need to have some common rules for our framework development, and so for example, that ABAP and ADT is a face and not framework APIs, which are generic and stuff like that. So therefore, TCD is one reason why we introduced it. And the second, also very, very important point, especially for us at SAP and for our partners and customers, is the integration of legacy code, of application code, which is already there. So we are not rebuilding each and every application by using BOPF and splitting the code into everything, but that we can really easily integrate our existing assets. Therefore, we reinvented RAP for that purpose.
You could do so doing this legacy code with gateway services, but now it's part of the programming model. So that was not, and this is a real step forward.
So we had the classical model, programming model, where it was DIN-Pro and list processing, and even Web DIN-Pro was probably in that programming model as well. Then we graduated to the next programming model, which was you're going to have to help me with the name, but it was ABAP programming model for Fiori. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Right. So then we took that one step forward, and now we have the RESTful application programming model. Okay, yes. Great.
Exactly.
And you also raised the question, why should I use it now? And I mean, the point is that it makes the life really easier for an application developer, because it's also, the program model is also like an architecture blueprint. So you don't have to think about which technologies should my teams use in order to create new apps, but we have a complete end-to-end programming model, and you can follow this blueprint, this architecture blueprint, and even the development flow of this. And if you invest into application development with RAP, then these investments, so that's our idea, are really sustainable. So I'm sometimes surprised, because we have so many or so fast innovation cycles, like new protocols, like new UI technologies. But on the other hand, we want to protect our core of the application, because we want to protect it. It's used in several scenarios. And what we now want to try with RAP, and we do not only try it because we already did it, is to somehow have a facet around the heart of our code, and to decouple it from the different scenarios. But we can still reuse it everywhere. But the integration, for example, into OData v2 and next, or already there is OData v4, that is something we can do. And application development can really focus on the heart of the real business logic and not the technical aspects. And
it's not just for OData services. So as Marcel pointed out, you can look at it as this new kind of BAPI that's now around. So you can call it, you can reuse it for other services, even for background jobs. So and everything can be done with one programming model, and you don't have to use different ones.
We have a question coming in from the chat. High level question: why stateless applications? Why not innovate and build stateful Fiori applications using RAP? Stateless applications, aka WebDyn Pro, worked well.
Very tough question. So yeah, it's a good one. So of course, using stateful applications would also be possible, but at the end of the day, we have two drivers that make stateless really important, and one of it is the cloud readiness. So if we are going to the cloud and we have dynamic access of server resources, we really need to make sure that we can change the server infrastructure, that we can do an upgrade. And if we have on each server running stateful applications, that's a little bit hard. So therefore, in the cloud world, stateless is very important. And the second driver is also the user experience. So we need, for a modern UX, for modern user experience, we really need stateless. So to decouple the running user interface and the perceived transaction really from the backend session. So for example, if you come up with now different options where you can really share your work on data, you really, before it is saved, you want to do it with multiple people before it's really saved. You cannot do that with a running ABAP session. You really need to decouple it and to put it into the database so that several people can also work on that.
We have also introduced the option to use draft, right? So there you can get the best of two worlds. So you have an application which is which saves the data that you have just entered, right? You can use it for complex stuff, and even if you would come later on, the data would still be there. But on the other hand, you have a stateless UI, so it's something that we are. So it's not completely stateless.
Yeah, and I can also point out maybe which is important, so that as of today, where we have these functionality also in RAP integrated, I think it's not too hard for application development to support these stateless scenarios, because now everything is integrated into RAP with the draft, and it's so easy to use it. Multiple applications at SAP are doing that. Customers and partners in Steampunk are doing that. So I think if you follow the RAP programming model, it's not such a big deal as it maybe was at the beginning of our time when we thought about this.
Right. So back to the main questions here. How is it used within SAP today, RAP?
So we have a growing acceptance. So people are building every new application is based on RAP. So if stuff is built new, and we have even more now even more applications that are based on the ABAP RESTful programming model than we had on the predecessor, right? So this number has grown there, and it can be used because as Marcel pointed out, because you can use it for this legacy code. We are able to build so-called facades so that we can reuse part of this old code, but can access it from the outside like a RAP object, or it is a RAP object, but.
And the feedback from our colleagues in the S/4HANA application development is also really good. So they are happy to have that, and it's like Andre says, it's heavily used. And yeah, and I mean, for Steampunk and embedded Steampunk, since we want to ensure cloud lifecycle stability, that everything goes well in the cloud, that there are no problematic upgrades or something, we really need to have also a cloud-ready programming model, and therefore RAP is the one programming model for Steampunk and also for embedded Steampunk in the future. And yeah, so we will also significantly develop it further and improve it, and a lot of stuff is currently also going on and will come in the future. Great.
We have a lot of questions coming into the chat here. I'll try to keep up here, guys, but I'm not sure how good of a job I'm going to do. One question I thought was interesting is, do you think that there's anything that RAP cannot do which the previous programming models did very well?
The previous programming models, not the ABAP programming model for SAP Fiori, but in general.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, there are also things we cannot do. So for one example is that we have problems that goes back to the question of stateless. We have at least one application which is so complex, so that we are even not able we are able to support that with RAP, but not with draft. But here RAP also can support that. But of course, we have some limitations, and since we are a programming model which offers features, and if the feature is not yet there, then it's maybe sometimes hard to integrate that. But that's a question of a roadmap. But I think in general, you can do a lot of stuff with RAP, and we also have a lot of exits which you could use and breakout scenarios. So yeah, but of course there are things which we cannot do.
Another question that's coming in is, when is it planned to provide a path from BOPF objects to RAP objects? As far as I can remember, wasn't it originally announced for 2019 at some point in the past? So I guess the question is here around migration from one programming model to another.
Yeah, the answer is that we are. It's a really tough job, and we promised a lot to integrate that, so that you, as a consumer of such a BO, you even don't recognize that underlying implementation type is BOPF. So we are still in the progress of doing it, and we also have the first prototypes or the first real front runners in S/4HANA application development doing the migration actually. The thing is that we don't want to offer it to our customers, the migration, before we are really sure it's in a good quality and that we really validate it internally. And therefore it unfortunately takes maybe a little bit more time than expected, and not only a little bit. 2019, I'm not sure if we promise it for that one, but definitely we are a little bit slow. We are slower than expected. But yeah, again, it's a really tough job, and we want to move that forward, and it's still on the list definitely, and hopefully it comes soon.
I think it was on the first slides when we talked about RAP that there was an error that showed that we are planning to offer something like that. But I think one important point is also, if you have an existing application that uses the BOPF framework, right? So there is no need to, it will still work, right? Even in the newest S/4HANA stack. So it's not mandatory now to migrate it immediately, right? And therefore it's good to take the time to make the migration bulletproof, right? And so far, and in the meantime, you can just continue to use any existing object. The same is true even for gateway services, right? So this is also something we will bring to the table. It still works.
But maybe also looking into this box a little bit deeper. So just also for the confidence that we're really working on that. So because we can tell everything, but yeah. So you know what? So what we already achieved long time ago is that for a BOPF-BO with a CDS BOPF-BO, we can also create a behavior definition artifact, which replaces the annotations which we have in CDS so far. But what parts which are really making us a hard job is that the BOPF framework has its own save sequence where all the BOPF-BOs are orchestrated. And with REP, we think we do it even a little bit better, and that it does not perfectly fit together. And we are really trying our best, and we're doing it so to bring these two worlds together, so that you don't feel a difference from the outside. So, for example, also Andre mentioned embedded steampunk. And now assume at SAP, we have totally different scenarios. We have new scenarios. We have scenarios with existing coding, with legacy coding, and we have also BOPF-BOs. But if you want to do that now in embedded steampunk to create some extensions, or you want to implement some applications, then really it should have the same look and feel, and you should not be aware of what is the implementation type of the BO. And therefore, to make this really stable, that's a tough job we are currently focusing on, and we are nearly done.
Okay. So why is RAP better than previous programming models? For example, the classic style of using BAPIs. Why is RAP better than implementing a gateway OData service manually?
That's, for example, the reuse, right? So the gateway framework, so if you have built something with the OData version 4 framework and you want to go on to OData version 4, you would have to rebuild your service because the APIs are different, right? And here the coding is agnostic, so the implementation does not depend on the protocol anymore. So even if maybe in the future some other fancy protocol would come up, that would be something that could then maybe be handled by just providing a new binding type. So this is, and it's what else? It's for testing purposes is much better. So you can test it on various levels. You can test those calls using the entity manipulation language. So this is something which is very nice.
And if you maybe focus on BAPI, on BAPI, you have an API which you can use very easy, but for example, you would have a tough job to integrate that into new scenarios like gateway, like OData, for example. So somehow you have to map these things, and maybe you can even not fulfill everything. And therefore, if we now invest into a REP BO, that's what we designed. It can be used in stateful scenarios. It can be used in these stateless scenarios with OData, without OData. It even would run in a sub-GUI application. And so yeah, it's sustainability. So that's certainly one point which makes it better. And one point which we heavily also discuss at SAP is, if we are using BAPIs, so some of them also use, for example, at the end, a call function update task. So if you are now programming by using multiple BAPIs, so it's quite technical now, but if you're using multiple BAPIs and they are all doing their call function update tasks, and you're calling them one after the next, so then you always have the problem about the transactional consistency. But what happens if there is a database commit in between? It could be raised implicitly, yeah? And you could have transactional inconsistencies. And with RAP, we have a transaction model by using the SAP LOW. So we are integrating in the SAP LOW. We're putting there a model how the transaction should look like, so that we really can ensure transactional consistency. And the call function update tasks are just done for every business object at the end before we do the commit, and there is no chance that an implicit commit happens in between. So it's sustainability, but it's also consistency, transactional consistency, for example. And yeah, just if you think about the gateway service, I mean, that were the first things we did on, I don't know, on NetWeaver 740 with our innovations in our group was, you don't want to implement an OData service. You don't want to transfer $select to a database query or the order by or account. You don't want to implement that for each and every service by yourself, because the first thing you would do is to create some kind of generic query engine, because you don't want to implement that for each and every service. And that's what we did there was with SADL to provide such a query engine, which can be used for CDS views and yeah, before that also for other stuff, not important today anymore. But yeah, and what we are doing now with the REPBOs is basically the same. Coming from the VDM and the exposure to OData, we're coming now from the REPBOs and that to expose them to OData or something else, because even here you don't want to implement each and every time the different protocols and APIs. Just do it one time, we do it for the other for the rest.
Yeah, and everything is typed now, right? So you get from programming perspective, that's very nice. No generic structures.
Exactly, our qualities, right? So built-in documentability, built-in testability. So for each and every unit or integration scenario, we know how we could test it in the best way. And there will be documentation soon, how you could test really and where to test your code and the complete scenario. Besides documentability and testability, it's also extensibility. We will come up in the future with some extensibility approach, of course, modification free, which is lifecycle stable, so we can apply it also in the cloud, and which is very easy, intuitive, and completely independent how the application was created. So again, BOPF or unmanaged or managed. And what's the one I missed? Supportability. We also offer, I think already now, the ABAP cross trace, where you can really trace the end-to-end the overall application. So from gateway to the database, and you see each and every layer, you see everywhere what goes in, what comes out, and filter on the aspects you really want to have. We have the first version, I think, already available. We are improving that, but that's just a question of time.
And what you said, Marcel, so this extensibility, which is upcoming, and then it's very important that you know how RAP works, right? So then in order to extend it, you should know how this new type of application development works.
Exactly.
So it's an investment into the future. But you can build on your RAP skills. This is very important. So what I've seen here, so dealing with lots of developers outside, so the learning curve is very steep. So when the people know how to program ABAP, they see lots of things immediately.
Yeah. Speaking of learning curve, and I heard someone mention EML earlier. There was a question in the chat, and I think it's relevant here. Is there any plans to enhance documentation and tutorials around EML? For me, I know that when I started learning RAP, that I think that was one aspect that I was not able to find good tutorials on. Has there been any new tutorials or additional documentation around EML?
Yes, definitely. It's on the way, also nearly done. So yeah, we had definitely problems with the documentation in this area. But we improved it. And just also to maybe explain a little bit why it is also so important in general. So because EML is the API or the domain language to have this dynamic access to BOs and also static access, of course. But also now coming back to embedded steampunk, where customers, partners really want to use the digital core of S/4HANA and really to touch it and really to create a sales order and maybe to delete a sales order, we also really need APIs to do that. And what we are doing is to create, as Andre also introduced it earlier, we are creating RAP facades, unmanaged BOs at SAP and release them in the cloud with all the cloud aspects. And here again, EML is the one and single API to access the digital core of S/4HANA. So all the business functionality, that means transactional functionality, will be exposed via RAP, and EML is the one and only API to do that. And of course, we need to make sure that that there's a good reference documentation, but also like scenarios, the documentation via the typical RAP documentation. So yeah, it's definitely there soon.
Great.
And right now you have in week 4 of the openSAP course, there is a small exercise with testing EML, and we also have we will put that later on. We have a longer script testing of RAP objects, and there is also a section how to work with EML.
Great. So how can I apply RAP to my situation? Let's say I'm a long-time SAP customer. I've been doing ABAP for years, mainly within the confines of the other programming models. How do I handle bringing my existing applications to this new technology? And what about new applications? And are there other scenarios where it's neither old nor new? Maybe it's a mixture.
That's a very good question, and I think also very often raised by customers and partners. So first thing is that we are currently creating a blog. So Karine, also from the PM team, she's working on that, and we hope that we can publish that soon. But maybe the key message here is, so first of all, using RAP is of course not mandatory. RAP should help, but it's not like, well, just do it everywhere and completely refactor your coding. I mean, that's not realistic. So, but for example, if you want to do some innovation, if you want to create new Fiori applications, if you want to transform your code to be cloud ready, or you start creating new code and you want to have it in a sustainable way, or if you innovate your business processes and you anyways change your code, then really it makes sense to use RAP and to integrate here whatever you have. And I mean, the flavor, the background is that we have basically 3 flavors, which is important to understand. So first of all, you can come up with greenfield applications. Yeah, also like BOPF did. We call it here RAP managed BOs. You can create new BOs on top of database tables without even a single line of ABAP code. The business object is running. So which is quite fast. You can really quickly create it. Or unmanaged BOs where you really can integrate your existing application code. And we have also something in between where you maybe in the past you have your running application, but you did not decouple your coding from, for example, SAP GUI. You have your PBO, PAI exits. You have your coding there. And now the question, how can I touch this one? How can I integrate that in RAP? And the answer is, of course, we cannot do magic, but at least the code snippets which are reusable in a different environment. So for example, the call function update task, or your authority objects, or your log objects. This you can then do with the managed BO, the unmanaged save, that's what we call it. So that means new apps creating your reusable code and also the parts. And now it really depends regarding your question, Reg, where the question is, where are you and where do you want to go? And here in this case, we really have to distinguish the different cases. So for greenfield, apply managed. And if you have your coding strongly coupled, please use managed with unmanaged save. And if you have reusable code, which is decoupled, then we can also integrate that in unmanaged BO and use it if you really want to have an innovation on this. So also at SAP, of course, we do not rework all the coding, but just where it is really beneficial and where it helps.
Excellent. Okay. So where is RAP available today, and what is the way forward?
Yeah. Available, it's, for example, here you read it in the BTP environment, so the ABAP environment, it's available. It's available on premise. So the first version was out with 1909. Then next version came with, we ship it on a yearly basis with SAP S/4HANA 2020. And the upcoming version will be the next version of SAP S/4HANA. And there it's, the lots of features that people are waiting for will then be in there. Yeah, what else? That's where you can use it.
Exactly.
Sorry, embedded steampunk, I forgot.
And maybe something in addition, because we sometimes get also the feedback that, for example, with 1909, RAP is not really usable, which is totally true, because with 1909 we just have the very first version. So, for example, just an unmanaged business object, you were able to create no managed POs, no draft support, so pretty hard to do something there. So my recommendation is, if you will stay on a 1909 on-premise release and you don't plan an upgrade, so then RAP might not be the answer to your problem. Then maybe it's still the ABAP program model for SAP Fiori. With 2020, this changed. So we introduced a lot of features. So, for example, managed with unmanaged, and also both combined with draft. So we can already do a lot of stuff there on premise. But
OData before, for example.
OData before with feature pack 1, yes. But we still have some limitations there. So, for example, we have very limited numbering options. So late numbering, if you need to draw a late number, then it's not supported in this release. And therefore, with 2021 now, I personally would say we are in a situation where we would support most scenarios to be, and we are mass adoption ready. Yeah. So really with 2021, we can also see that in S/4HANA, we can nearly understand, support each and every scenario. And yeah, maybe from a higher point of view, I would say we have three things with RAP. So the first thing is RAP build. I call it RAP build. So it supports the creation of new applications, web APIs, and Fiori apps. That's with 2021 feature pack 1. And then we have the next big block, which is RAP extend. So you want to extend in embedded steampunk, for example, you want to extend existing applications, create new ones, and touch the digital core of SAP with the RAP facades. That's the topic we are currently working on. So it's for the next year. And the next very big topic is RAP integrate and reuse, or sometimes you call it also ecosystem. So because we have now a programming model, we can create web APIs, we can create Fiori applications, we can also extend them. So the logical next step is to go broader and to integrate other parts of the programming model. So to get closer with IAM, to get closer with nodes, application log, change documents. For example, also to create business events via the event mesh in the BTP via RAP. So these are topics we will focus on in the future, which will be the next big thing for us.
Okay. I'm just going to throw this one out here, even though we've covered this on other live streams before. The IDE for creating RAP is Eclipse today, and we have no plans of changing that aspect. Correct, guys?
Correct.
Okay, so let's just put that one to sleep right now. Okay, let's see if there's anything else in here. I know I skipped over a couple that I can't find anymore because the feed is pretty heavy here. Let's say I'm debugging a Fiori UI5 app and see a browser trace that a backend service is being called. Is there an easy way? Oh, sorry. Are there any easy indicators to track it back to the fact that it is a RAP service?
Yeah. You should see it in the URL. So because the OData services created by a RAP, Andre, I'm not totally sure what the prefix or the infix is. Is it RAP or is it something else?
I would have to look it up.
Yeah, but yeah, there's definitely, so Gateway, for example, says there are different repositories. So that means providers and generic providers, and RAP is of course the main generic provider for OData services, and we have one segment in the OData URL which we own, and this can be used to identify it. But I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure what the name is, but definitely yes.
Okay. Just trying to scan back through the log here. Let's take a couple of the ones here at the end. How about, will RAP support cross business object scenarios?
Cross business object scenarios. So that can result in multiple questions. So one question could be, can I call in one business object another one? Definitely via EML. It's already supported. Next question is, can I create a cross BO association from one BO to the other one? For example, to have a read by association or create by association. Yes, that is currently done or nearly done. And the third point would be, can I even expose then this cross BO association in one Fiori application or one web API? And the answer is here also, yeah, not too far away, because we are currently introducing the draft scope. So this is something which extends the draft concept, because, you know, like in the good old stateful time, you had your ABAP session, and everything in the ABAP session was committed or was erased when the session is gone. And now, if you have the stateless scenarios and with RAP, and we have the draft, then of course the data of multiple BOs. So, for example, I don't know, like the sales order and the notes of the sales order as a reuse object. They may need to have the same life cycle. So they are created. They also need to be activated and to be committed together. And therefore, of course, yes, this is then in future supported by the so-called draft scope. A very complex topic for us, but I can also promise to you it will be a very easy topic for the ones using it.
I think I got one for you, Andre. Any plans to add a generator of RAP objects directly in Eclipse instead of having to use XCO library?
Yes, there are plans. So, so colleagues are working on that. So there will be an integration into ADT. So my tool will still be there for, let's say, for other purposes, but definitely this nice integration, right-clicking on a table and then getting a starter application is something we are working on.
Exactly, and fingers crossed we will make it to the TechEd, because then you will see the RAP generator and you will see how you can create with a right-click, like Andrew said, database table, right-click and create a complete OData service out of that, which is already running, which has draft support and everything. Yeah, I hope we can show that on the next TechEd. So join.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard that here first. Great.
Exactly. Join the TechEd and you will see it.
So for the RAP, on RAP with unmanaged scenario, is it not possible to use the classical BAPIs that execute a commit work internally? Is that true?
You would.
So sorry. The question is, can I use a BAPI with a function
with a commit work
task within
with
RAP?
a commit work that runs in
RAP?
Yes.
That would run.
There are several statements which are forbidden in RAP because we are following the best practices which we learned, which we had in the last 20 years of the application development at SAP. And one is that that there should be one central owner of the commit, and that's us. We are the central owner of the commit. And yeah, you can integrate all your existing application logic. The only thing is commit is not allowed. And if you do a call function update task, you can do that easily integrated into RAP in an unmanaged BO or managed with unmanaged save. But you can only do the call function update task in the save. So pretty late, because again, we cannot ensure transactional consistency if we do a call update into a call function update task. Sorry, and there might be an implicit commit. So this has to be really done at the end, but commit is done by us.
Okay.
So just one more point, because it's so important, because otherwise, if we would not do that, we could not offer that multiple BOs are running in the same LOW, in the same SAP LOW. And now assume they are also coming from totally different parties in an on-premise system or in a cloud system. And now assume we are even doing extension of that in the cloud, which need to be lifecycle stable. So therefore, if rep is in, we are the transaction owner, we do the commit, and everyone is invited to join the party, but then to follow the rules, unfortunately.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about streaming of file support in RAP?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay.
So we have there a gap, definitely end to end, coming from Fury elements via RAP down to the database. How the stream support is there. Currently, it has to be, a lot of things have to be done manually, and my expectation is that streams are supported like any other data type, so that there is a built-in solution end to end from Fury elements via RAP down to the database, and that's what also we're close.
Great. Is there any documentation which features or enhancements came with the SAP S/4HANA 2020 FPS 02 concerning RAP v4?
No, we don't have such a document, but
2020 feature pack 0.
Two.
Says 02.
Feature pack 2, okay. So we introduced or we enabled OData v4 with feature pack 1, and there was no update with feature pack 2. So next update is then 2021.
Wow. So you guys gave us a lot of detail today. But I think one of the most important questions, especially for people that are just getting introduced to the topic, where do I start? Where do I go? How do I learn this new programming model so that I can apply it to my company?
Yeah, we did a nice openSAP course last year, so that's still available, and now in a self-paced mode you can go through that. So that goes over several weeks. So you will learn how to build those managed applications Marcel pointed out, and also the unmanaged stuff. So I think it's a good starting point. And there's also a blog that describes this in also in a shorter way. That would be maybe a starting point. We will provide those links later on to the to that video.
Yeah, I think, Andre, we also have a blog about, maybe that's what you meant, getting started with RAP, right? Getting started.
Right, that I meant. So on getting started, this blog post, and there you will then find also those things, especially the one which points then to the openSAP course.
Yeah, we'll put all these links in the show notes afterwards. So there
you can, and one thing you can use the ABAP trial, right? So this the trial version of the ABAP environment. So there you can try out always the latest version of the ABAP RESTful programming model. So if you don't have an S/4HANA system which is running on the latest and greatest release on your own at home, then you can go to the trial and try out things there.
Exactly, but I think also these information are also available on the Getting Started blog by Karin, and this is always a good starting point.
Exactly.
So I think something similar will follow soon, because as I said, now with these 3 dimensions like RAP build, RAP extend, and the RAP integrate and reuse, also this story we will need to rephrase that and create a blog for that, because we have so many updates on RAP. So we definitely need to provide you something on top.
Another good question that came in here. Is it possible for us to move our custom RAP development objects from on-premise to SAP BTP ABAP environment and have it executed against the on-premise via cloud connection? Now, I think there's two parts. There's 2 parts there. Firstly, can I develop my RAP application on premise and then pick it up and put it down in the BTP and have it work without any issue? I guess it depends on what it's doing, but basic applications, right? And then I guess the second part of that is the have it execute back against the on-premise via cloud connection.
you would have to work. You would have to be careful which ABAP language version you have to use. So in the cloud, we just support this ABAP for cloud development. So once you would start with the development on-prem, you would have to create a package that uses this language version. So that it is ensured that only released APIs and so on are called. And yeah, then you from the ABAP environment, you are able to call the backend, but this is a feature that it's only available in licensed systems. So you cannot connect with the cloud connector to those trial systems. That's unfortunately not possible.
Yeah, let me maybe rephrase the answer to the first question. I would rephrase it with definitely. Very good idea. Because if you are using RAP, then of course you are doing just what we mentioned. You're doing the sustainable investment, right? So and the things you do with RAP, it are exactly the same whether you do them on premise or in the cloud, and even in which cloud you deployment. So yes, that's possible. But of course, it also depends what you are using in your coding. Yeah. So like Andre mentioned, on premise you can call like each and every functionality SAP provides. And of course, in the cloud, not everything is available, but because again, it needs to be stable in the cloud. So therefore, in principle, yes, but also it depends. But in general, a good idea, a good starting point. And you could go even the next step, not only use RAP, but even use the ABAP language version 5, and then you are 100% sure. But then, of course, there's also not too much content there. But if you're creating your own custom app, a complete self-contained application, you could do that, and you could transfer it easily via Git then to a cloud system.
Right. The point was about Git, right? So
yeah.
There's another question. I think it's along these same lines. We already have RAP with managed scenario for S/4HANA on premise. I think that came in 1909. Is that right?
No, that came with 2020.
Oh, 2020. Okay.
The
application.
Managed scenario.
A managed scenario, yeah, to be 100% honest, we delivered one application in 1909, which is managed. But yeah, that was our very, very early front runner. And we did a lot of incompatible changes afterwards in the managed infrastructure. And therefore, just this application was allowed to use a managed. And with 2020, we have done and improved it, and now it's robust, and therefore managed is available with 2020 in general.
Around the ABAP trial and the ABAP Developer Edition, is there plans to bring that from the 1909 version up to 2004?
2004? You mean 2020 or 2021?
Yeah, I'm reading from the text here. I'm assuming they're just simply asking, we have plans to incrementally update the trial editions or the developer editions and the trials on a more regular basis, so that we always have the latest and greatest as far as we can get it.
Yeah, it's hard to answer. So that's there are plans, or it would be the wish, but it's
right.
As you can see, we were for several reasons not able to do that, unfortunately.
Is RAP flexible? Is RAP flexible to build application hierarchy modeling, like product hierarchy? Means like handling multiple nodes, handling with a tree.
That maybe reminds me on the question, where are the limits of RAP? And this is one currently.
Right.
So this is a big, this is still a big gap. So we can do list reports, we can do object pages, we can do like analytical list pages and all that stuff. But one thing which is really still painful, unfortunately, is the support of creation, or you could also call it a tree view. a product hierarchy or something like that. So there is currently no end-to-end support for doing that. You could still, of course, do it in a manual way, but you might also result in performance issues if you do that, because it's pretty hard to implement that. So yeah, that's also on our list. Not yet started, but it's on our list to support such hierarchies. So just hierarchies as a tree view. Yeah.
Would it be possible to support behavior actions with result entity cardinality greater than 1 in the future?
Oh, whoa, let's think about that one. It's a technical one. With $self as a result, cardinality more than 1.
Tough questions from the crowd today, huh?
Yeah, what does it mean? For example, create 2 sales orders, not 1, but create 2 sales orders. No, would be an option. So I think we have a channel for making proposals, right? For RAP. Yeah, we can discuss it. So I'm not sure if it totally makes sense, but it does not sound too strange. Yeah, I will take it with me, and let's see.
All right. Let's see here. I'll just read it. I haven't pre-read this. We'll see if it makes any sense here. When will all of the standard Fiori elements apps, which is already built by ABAP programming model for Fiori, get converted to RAP? Is there any plans to do so? To convert all of our existing applications written in older programming models to the RAP model?
Also, very good question. So I think it's not only at SAP, but a general thing. Why should you, if you want to rebuild something, there should be a good reason. If something is running, if it is stable, why should we change it just because we are using the newest technology? So it's an investment, and maybe there is not such a big benefit. So therefore, definitely new applications are built by a RAP, but we are not converting applications in other programming models or predecessor versions, or even other UI technologies, just do it for all of them. So there should be a good reason, and innovation is a good reason, or we really need to reinvent something there. So, but the answer, I think, as far as I know, so I'm not an S4 guy, but S/4HANA guy, but I think there is no task to really transfer all of them just in order to use RAP.
Okay. Yeah, so any final thoughts from our panelists, Andre, Marcel? Any final thoughts you would like to leave the audience with today about RAP or ABAP in general, I guess?
Yes, you should. I guess you should look into this, right? So you have now learned, if you have not yet the chance to have a deeper look into this, okay, I hope we got you interested in that, so that you can start and try out things and maybe get your hands dirty, try out on our trial systems. Yeah, starting with more or less hello world stuff, or just follow this openSAP course if you have time for that. That would be something I could recommend.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I mean, we are thinking about and developing RAP for such a long time. It's such a ambitious task to come up with it, and now it's there, and I'm really looking forward, because it will be there for a long period of time, and will be a standard for a long time. And I really hope that our ABAP folks that really want to try it out and learn it, so because it will be the future, and it's so important to learn it, and to start maybe with CDS and ADT on older releases, but really check this out, use it, have fun with it, because you will have fun once you understood it. I know it's always difficult to learn something new, especially such a complex topic, but once you learn it, it makes so much fun, and you are so fast, and it's such a good result which comes out. That's at least what we get as feedback from S/4HANA, and yeah, so I'm really looking forward that we will have very broad coverage of using it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that once you learn it, it starts becoming fun, because that's actually the the experience that I had when I first started looking into it. I'll be honest with you, I got a little intimidated by the EML. I'm not afraid to say that, but once you understand what's going on there, it does become very powerful and very useful, and you can have some fun with it. So I'm glad you pointed that out without me having to prompt you. But
and don't be frustrated if you're using it on older on-premise releases, because it's not ready there. So you can use it to start, but it's not ready there. And I even recommend to use the ABAP programming model for SAP Fiori, for example, with 1909. Yeah, so that says a lot. So don't be frustrated on older releases, but yeah, check this out for the future and use it on your releases, and especially in the cloud, of course.
Oh yeah, great guys. Just really quick. I wanted to put in a little plug here for the Devtoberfest event that's coming up here in October. So for those of you that aren't aware, we have Devtoberfest, which again we started last year, and this year we're doing it again. It is a celebration of and for developers. It's 6 weeks of tech talks and product experts and industry guests as well. So if you're not signed up for that yet, not registered yet for that, developers.sap.com/Devtoberfest. Visit that page to get all the information. One of our speakers here, Andre, is actually one of the speakers for week 2 of Devtoberfest, where he's going to talk about ABAP best practices. So if you're interested in ABAP, if you're interested in RAP, and you want to hear best practices from Andre, join us for that session, week 2 of Devtoberfest. Again, I want to thank you guys. Great content here today. Very detailed answers. I thank you so much for joining. Thanks to everyone on the chat. I apologize for not getting to all your questions. It's a little hectic to go back and forth, but I think we did well here today. I thank everybody for joining, and we'll catch you next time on the next developer discussion. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, and thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.